What's going on, everybody? Kalippa's Tech here, coming back at you with another video. In this video, we're going to be doing a quick comparison between the Samsung Galaxy A54 5G and the Samsung Galaxy A14 5G. Now, as always, if you do want to learn more about either phone individually, be sure to check out the description, where I am linking to several other videos about them, as well as some information about pricing, availability, and some of my favorite smartphone accessories. But with that being said, let's get into it. So with the Samsung Galaxy A54 5G, we're getting a 6.4-inch 120Hz Super AMOLED display with a 1080p resolution, a PPI of 403, and a 19.5 by 9 aspect ratio. With the Samsung Galaxy A14 5G, we're getting a 6.6-inch 90Hz PLS LCD display, and this phone also has a 1080p resolution, a PPI of 400, and a 20 by 9 aspect ratio. So on one hand, with the Samsung Galaxy A14 5G at again 6.6 inches versus 6.4 with the A54 5G, it is a little bit larger, and with the 20 by 9 aspect ratio versus 19.5 by 9, it also has a slightly taller and more narrow form factor, which is going to give you a slightly more immersive experience in landscape mode. And if you're doing something like reading or scrolling through social media, with a form factor like this, you can fit a bit more content on the screen without having to scroll too much. So overall, if you want a slightly larger display, the Samsung Galaxy A14 5G will have an advantage. On the other hand though, with a Super AMOLED and a slightly higher refresh rate, the Samsung Galaxy A54 5G does have better image quality. The Super AMOLED is going to make the colors and brightness a little bit better, and with the A54 5G, the viewing angles are also quite a bit better. So if you're outside in the sun, for example, the A54 will be a bit easier to see. But at the end of the day, these displays are both really good. So if you're consuming a lot of content, whether you're watching videos, reading, using social media, no matter what you're doing, you're really not going to go wrong with either device. Now for storage, the Samsung Galaxy A54 5G is getting 128GB of internal storage with microSD card expansion, and with the Samsung Galaxy A14 5G, we're getting 64GB with microSD card expansion as well. So between the two, of course, the Samsung Galaxy A54 5G has quite a huge advantage. And keep in mind with this phone, there is another variant too that has 256, whereas with the A14 5G, we only have this one. So if storage is more of an important thing for you, if you're someone who's really downloading a lot of apps and games and stuff like that, then in that case, as far as storage goes, the A54 5G will be a better choice. But on the other hand, for the average user, I feel like 64GB is at least acceptable. And if you're not really doing a ton with your phone, maybe you have a modest amount of apps and photos and videos and stuff like that, but you're still mindful of what you're putting on your phone, and you're really not a super heavy user or anything, then in that case, the Samsung Galaxy A14 5G is still going to be fine. But again, between the two, seeing as the Samsung Galaxy A54 5G has at least double the storage, if not quadruple, depending on the version you get, again, it definitely does have the advantage here. For security features, both phones have Face Unlock, and they both have fingerprint scanners. With the Samsung Galaxy A54 5G, it's right here in the display. And with the A14 5G, it's on the power key. But starting with the Samsung Galaxy A54 5G, let's give them a try. There we go, one more time. And there we go. And now for the A14 5G. There we go, one more time. And there we go. So as you can see, both fingerprint scanners were real fast and responsive. And again, remember, both phones do have Face Unlock too. So if you want to use that instead, you always can. Now taking a look at the camera setups here, with the Samsung Galaxy A54 5G, we got a real nice looking hole punch design for the front facing camera. This camera is 32 megapixels. Then on the back, we got a triple camera setup with a 50 megapixel main camera, a 12 megapixel ultra wide camera, and a 5 megapixel macro camera. And then for video, the A54 5G can record in up to 4K in both the rear and front cameras, so definitely nice to see there. With the A14 5G, up front, we got a water drop notch design for the front facing camera. This camera is 13 megapixels. Then on the back, we get a triple camera setup with the 50 megapixel main camera, a 2 megapixel macro camera, and a 2 megapixel depth sensing camera. And then for video, the Samsung Galaxy A14 5G has a max recording quality of 1080p in the front and rear cameras, so unfortunately no 4K here. So in general, both phones do have pretty good camera setups, but it is worth mentioning, the Samsung Galaxy A54 5G does have an ultra wide camera, whereas unfortunately, the Samsung Galaxy A14 5G doesn't. So if you do want that feature, definitely keep this in mind. And in addition to this, despite both cameras having really good photo quality, the Samsung Galaxy A54 5G is still quite a bit better. Now, on one hand, with the Samsung Galaxy A14 5G, for the average user, this camera setup is pretty much going to be good enough for anything. I mean, if you're taking photos for social media, for example, it is going to get the job done, but if you want the best camera between the two, then again, definitely go with the Samsung Galaxy A54 5G. Now, to give you an idea of what they can do, first, here's some pictures taken with the Samsung Galaxy A54 5G. Overall, definitely some great quality here, and the colors especially look really nice. So if you are looking for a more affordable mid-range phone that has maybe not quite at the level, but is approaching flagship level when it comes to photo quality, the Samsung Galaxy A54 5G is going to be a great choice. And then here's some pictures taken with the Samsung Galaxy A14 5G. Again, just like the A54, really good photo quality here, especially with this phone considering it's like $199 at full price, and with the carrier deals currently going on, you can probably get it for a lot less. So yeah, for what it is, definitely really good quality. The only thing here is compared to the A54 5G, I feel like the colors on these photos are not quite as good. Sure, everything does look nice in general, but if you want those really nice vivid colors and just more life in the photos in general, I do think the A54 5G will still have an advantage. But for the average user, for more casual use, the A14 5G is going to get the job done just fine. And again, aside from the photo quality, keep in mind, with the A54 5G, this phone again does have an ultra-wide camera, and it can record 4K videos, whereas with the A14 5G, this phone has neither of those features. So at the end of the day, if you're looking for a more affordable phone for more basic camera use, the A14 5G is going to be a perfectly good choice. And compared to other phones like this, I would say it is one of the better options. But if you do want a bit of a step up without going full flagship, then of course between the two, the Samsung Galaxy A54 5G will still be a much better choice. Now when it comes to RAM and processor, with the Samsung Galaxy A54 5G, we're getting 6GB of RAM with the Exynos 1380 processor. With the Samsung Galaxy A14 5G, this phone is getting 4GB of RAM, and depending on the version you get, you're going to get either the MediaTek Dimensity 700 or the Exynos 1330. But either way, between these two, the performance difference is pretty significant. On one hand, for more basic activities like web browsing, light social media use, watching videos every now and then, and maybe some light mobile gaming too, the Samsung Galaxy A14 5G will get the job done perfectly fine, and for a phone you can get typically under $200, the performance we get with this phone is actually pretty good. That being said though, the Samsung Galaxy A54 5G is on a completely different level, and if you're going to be on your phone quite a bit more, especially doing more demanding activities, then with the A54 5G you will get a much better experience. To put it into perspective, performance-wise, the A54 5G is really not too far behind something like the Google Pixel 6a or the Samsung Galaxy S21 FE. Maybe not quite at that level, but definitely closer than almost any other mid-range phone. So if you are looking for a really fast phone, but you still don't want to spend a ton of money on a higher end device, the A54 5G will definitely be a great choice. Now I did run a benchmark test on each phone using Geekbench 6, and here are the results I got. So again, as you can see here, definitely quite a difference, with the A54 5G being of course quite a bit faster. So clearly here, if you want the faster phone between the two, you are going to want to go with the A54 5G, but again in my experience, the A14 5G is definitely not a slow phone either, and for the average user for more basic activities, it still will get the job done just fine. Now both phones have 5000 mAh batteries, with the A54 5G supporting 25W fast charging and the A14 5G supporting 15. So a bit of a difference here when it comes to charging speed. With the A54 5G, while 25 watts isn't really the most amazing fast charging out there, it is definitely going to be a bit faster than the A14 5G. So if the charging speed really matters to you, definitely keep this in mind. But also keep in mind, in my experience, the A14 5G does still charge decently fast. So while the charging with the A54 5G obviously is going to be a bit faster, with the A14 5G, it's still not bad. And of course, with 5000 mAh batteries with either phone, you can definitely expect to get some great battery life and longevity. So if the battery is more of an important thing for you, either phone will be a great choice for that. When it comes to software, both phones come with the Android 13, so that's great. And knowing Samsung's software support with these phones, you can also expect to get several other major updates in the future. So if you like to have the latest version of Android, or maybe you like to get one phone and keep it for a longer time without having to replace it, and you still want to get some good updates throughout that time, in that case, either phone will be a great choice. And for that matter, compared to pretty much any other budget phone, when it comes to software and software support, a Samsung Galaxy A series phone is really hard to beat. Another cool thing about both phones here is that they both have NFC, so if you like to use tap and pay, you won't have to worry about that either. But keep in mind, unfortunately, with the Samsung Galaxy A54 5G, this phone does not have a headphone jack, whereas luckily, with the A14 5G, this phone still does. So if you have a normal pair of wired headphones you want to use, then you might want to go with the A14 5G instead. But in conclusion, which of these phones is better? In general, in pretty much every way, I would say the Samsung Galaxy A54 5G is the better device here, which definitely makes sense considering they are both A-series phones, and the A54 5G is obviously a bit higher end here. But that being said, despite technically being the better device, the Samsung Galaxy A54 5G might not actually make the most sense for everyone. If you're really looking for a more basic device, maybe you don't need a ton of storage, you want a camera that works, but you don't need an ultra-wide camera or crazy good quality. You also want decent performance, but you're not really going to be using your phone a ton. And in general, you really just need a phone for more normal everyday use. In that kind of situation, while the Samsung Galaxy A54 5G is great, the A14 5G is still going to be a perfectly fine choice, and if your needs really aren't that complex, I feel like this phone is honestly all you're going to need. That being said though, if you want a more premium device that has near flagship level performance, a ton ton of storage, a really high quality camera that can record 4K videos, slightly better fast charging, and a more premium Super AMOLED display as opposed to the A14 5G's PLS LCD, then in that case, the A54 5G will be a better choice for you. But this concludes my comparison between the Samsung Galaxy A54 5G and the Samsung Galaxy A14 5G. Again, if you want to learn more about either phone individually, definitely check out the description where I am linking to several other videos about them, as well as some information about pricing, availability, and some of my favorite smartphone accessories. But that's it for this video. If you enjoyed it and found it useful, be sure to give it a thumbs up and hit that subscribe button. Don't forget to follow Kalibus Tech on Twitter and Instagram. And as always, I will see you in the next video.